The USS Liberty dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Vextar territory. Jake Martinez stared at the main screen as space around them came into focus. The stars here looked different, somehow darker, as if the light itself was afraid to shine. Too brightly. Passive sensors only, Jake ordered quietly. I want to know what's out here before they know we're here. Tony Adams worked at his navigation console, his fingers moving quickly over the controls. Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures 30,000 kilometers to starboard. Something big. On screen, Jake said. The main view screen shifted to show what waited for them in the darkness. Jake felt his blood turn cold. The Vextar. Bioship was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the Liberty. Its hull was not made of metal, but of something that looked alive. Dark veins pulsed with sickly green light across its surface. Tentacles as thick as city blocks moved slowly around its body. My God, Amy Brooks whispered from her tactical station. It's alive. Not just alive, said Dr. Helen Ross, studying the readings from her medical scanners. It's partially organic, partially machine. I've never seen anything like this. The bioship moved through space like a predator swimming through dark water. As they watched, it extended long feeding tubes toward a nearby asteroid. The rock began to dissolve as the ship consumed it, growing slightly larger. They eat everything, Lisa Parker said grimly. No wonder nothing stops them. Jake studied the creature carefully. Every species that fought the Vextar tried to match their strength, with bigger ships and more weapons. But looking at this monster, Jake realized that was the wrong approach. Carl, what do our new weapons look like against that thing? Jake asked. Chief Engineer Carl Wilson ran quick calculations on his computer. Our plasma cannons should penetrate. They're bio-armor, but it would take sustained fire to bring down something that size. The problem is, we'd have to stay in one place long enough for them to tear us apart. Then we don't stay in one place, Jake said simply. Before anyone could ask what he meant, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. The Vextar bioship had found them. Captain, we're being scanned, Kate Johnson reported from communications. They know we're here. The alien ship turned toward them with surprising speed for something so massive. As it moved, Jake could see smaller creatures detaching from its hull. They looked like metallic parasites the size of fighter jets, but they moved like living things. 20 contact signatures incoming, Amy announced. They're not ships, Captain. They're some kind of biomechanical drones. All hands to battle. Stations, Jake ordered. Throughout the Liberty, crew members raced to their positions. Red alert lights bathed the corridors in crimson as the ship prepared for its first battle with galactic terror. The Vextar drones reached them in seconds. They didn't fire weapons like normal ships. Instead, they tried to attach themselves to the Liberty's hull like parasites. Jake watched in horror as one of them began boring through their armor plating with rotating drill tentacles. They're trying to get inside, Lisa reported. If even one of those things penetrates our hull, fire all defensive weapons, Jake ordered. Target the ones trying to breach our armor first. The Liberty's point defense systems came alive, filling space with rapid-fire energy bolts. The human weapons were different from anything the Vextar had faced. Where other species used massive, slow-firing cannons, humans built fast, precise guns that could track multiple targets. Several drones exploded as the defensive fire found them, but others kept coming, more than the guns could handle. Amy, I need options, Jake said. His tactical officer worked frantically at her station. Captain, their bio-armor is thick, but it has gaps between the organic sections. If we target those weak points, do it, Jake ordered. Amy coordinated the Liberties. Main weapons, targeting the joints and seams in the creature's living armor. The plasma cannons fired in short, precise bursts instead of long streams. Each shot found its mark, cutting through the gaps in ways that confused the alien drones. It's working, Carl reported from engineering. We're taking them apart piece by piece. But the massive bioship was moving closer, and Jake could see more drones launching from its body. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. "Tony, get us out of here," Jake ordered. "Best speed." "Which direction, Captain?" Tony asked. Jake looked at the tactical display. The smart move would be to retreat, report what they had learned, and let others decide the next step. But Jake Martinez had never been known for making the smart move. "Deeper into their space," Jake said. "Full speed toward their territory." "Sir?" Amy asked, surprised. "They expect us to run away," Jake explained. "Every species runs when they see a bioship. But we're not every species. We're human." The Liberty's engines roared to life, pushing the ship past the massive bioship and into the heart of Vextar space. Behind them, the alien vessel tried to follow, but it was too large to match their speed. "Drones are still following us," Lisa reported. "Let them come," Jake said. "Amy, prepare a surprise for our friends back there." As the Liberty raced through space, Jake had Amy target a large asteroid in their path. A single plasma blast broke it into thousands of pieces. The ship flew through the debris field, but the following drones ran straight into the floating rocks. At high speed. "Drone contacts lost," Amy reported with satisfaction. Dr. Ross looked up from her medical station. "Captain, I was able to scan those creatures while they were attached to our hull. The organic parts are definitely alive, but they're controlled by artificial intelligence systems. It's like someone took living tissue and turned it into a weapon." "Can we use that against them?" Jake asked. "Maybe," Helen said thoughtfully. "Living tissue has weaknesses that pure machines don't have, but I'd need more data to be sure." Kate Johnson looked up from her communications station. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from nearby systems. Some are distress calls, but others, they sound like slave colonies." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. The Vextar didn't just kill civilizations, they kept survivors as slaves, working them to death in mines and factories. "Can you translate the transmissions?" Jake asked. "Some of them," Kate replied. "The closest signal is coming from a planet 2 light years from here. The message keeps repeating the same thing. Help us, please, anyone, help us." Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Each of them was thinking the same thing. Their mission was to gather intelligence and survive as long as possible. Rescuing slaves would put them in terrible danger. "Plot a course for that system," Jake ordered. "Captain," Amy said carefully, "our orders were to avoid unnecessary risks." "There's nothing unnecessary about this," Jake replied firmly. "We came here to learn about the enemy. What better way to learn than to see what they do to the people they conquer?" Tony set their new course, and the Liberty jumped to hyperspace. As the ship raced through the tunnel of light, Jake thought about what they had learned in their first battle. The Vextar were powerful, but they fought like animals. They used brute force and overwhelming numbers. They expected their enemies to be terrified and make mistakes. But humans were different. They adapted quickly. They looked for weaknesses instead of trying to match strength with strength. Most importantly, they didn't give up when the odds looked impossible. "Time to destination?" Jake asked. 4 hours at current speed," Tony replied. Jake nodded. "All department heads meet in the conference room in 1 hour. We need to analyze what we learned and plan our next move." As his senior staff prepared their reports, Jake remained on the bridge, staring at the swirling lights of hyperspace. Somewhere ahead, people were crying for help. Behind them, a galaxy-spanning empire was probably wondering what had just happened to their bioship. The USS Liberty was no longer just gathering intelligence. They were at war with the most feared enemy in the galaxy, and somehow, Jake felt confident they could win. The key was to remember what made humans special. They didn't fight like other species. They fought like humans. And that, Jake realized, might be exactly what the galaxy needed. Commander Nick Davis stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, the exploration vessel Defiance, as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in front of the Council's main fortress. The massive alien structure was built into the surface of a rogue planet floating between star systems. It had served as the seat of galactic government for over 10,000 years. Today, it would witness something that had never happened before in Council history. "Signal from the fortress, Commander," reported Communications Officer Lisa Park. "They're demanding to know what we want." "Tell them we're here for the meeting they asked for," Nick replied calmly. "And remind them that we come in peace, but we're ready for any other option they might prefer." Behind the Defiance, a fleet of human vessels kept formation. Unlike the Council's elegant, standardized ships, the human fleet showed innovation and diversity. Each vessel used different technological approaches, different solutions to the same basic problems of space travel and defense. Inside the fortress, Council leader Zixathara prepared to face the most challenging negotiation in the organization's history. The humans had not simply rejected Council membership, they had fundamentally challenged the basic ideas that the Council was built on. "The human delegation has arrived," announced Protocol Administrator Kelfyan. "Commander Nick Davis and his negotiation team are requesting immediate audience." "Granted," Zixathara replied, its form cycling through colors that showed deep thought and barely controlled anxiety. The meeting chamber had been set up for maximum diplomatic impact. Representatives from over 100 Council species were present, creating a display of galactic unity that had intimidated countless civilizations into accepting Council guidance. The humans, however, seemed completely unimpressed. Commander Davis entered the chamber with confidence that bordered on casual indifference to the pomp surrounding him. His small team, just 6 humans, walked calmly through the assembled masses of alien dignitaries as if they owned the place. "Council Leader Zixathara," Nick said with a respectful nod, "thank you for agreeing to meet with us." "Commander Davis," Zixathara replied, its form settling into formal diplomatic patterns. "You have requested this audience to discuss the terms of humanity's integration into Council structure. We are prepared to offer final concessions." "I appreciate that," Nick said, "but I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. We're not here to negotiate our integration into your system. We're here to offer you the chance to join ours." The silence that followed was complete. In 10,000 years of Council history, no species had ever made such a proposal. The very concept was beyond their understanding. High Executor Zalthax was the first to recover. "Your arrogance knows no limits, human. You are one species among hundreds. What could you possibly offer that the Council lacks?" Nick smiled and activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. "Innovation, creativity, and the one thing your civilization seems to have forgotten: the ability to grow." The display showed comparative technological development curves. Council species showed steady, predictable advancement for centuries after joining, followed by long plateaus where innovation virtually stopped. Human development, by contrast, showed exponential acceleration that continued to increase over time. "Every species that joins your council stops innovating within 50 years, Nick explained. "They become consumers of technology rather than creators of it. You've created a galactic civilization of technological dependence." "Ridiculous," declared Economic Overseer Plixstan. "Council species have access to the most advanced technologies in the galaxy." "Yes, they do," Nick agreed. "Technologies developed by species that are now extinct, or by civilizations that stopped innovating thousands of years ago. When was the last time any Council member species developed a genuinely new technology?" The question hung in the chamber's recycled air like an accusation. Several Council members began accessing historical databases, their expressions growing increasingly troubled as they reviewed the records. "The purpose of the Council," announced Cultural Coordinator Zixathara, "is to prevent the chaos and destruction that results from unguided technological development." "And you've succeeded brilliantly," Nick acknowledged. "You've created the most stable, predictable, stagnant civilization in galactic history. But stability isn't growth. and predictability isn't progress. Dr. Emma Rodriguez, humanities chief scientist and part of Nick's delegation, stepped forward. We've analyzed your historical records. The Council has prevented approximately 47 major technological disasters over the past 10,000 years. That's impressive. Then you understand the necessity of our guidance, Zixthara declared. We understand that you've prevented disasters, Emma continued, but you've also prevented discoveries. For every dangerous technology you've stopped, you've eliminated a dozen beneficial innovations. Your risk-averse approach has created a civilization that fears change more than it desires progress. Nick activated another display, this one showing current human achievements. FTL drives based on novel physics principles. AI systems that enhanced rather than replaced human creativity. Medical technologies that extended life without sacrificing humanity's essential nature. This is what unguided development looks like, he said. Yes, we've made mistakes. Yes, we've faced dangers. But we've also achieved things your computer models said were impossible. Your rapid development will eventually lead to catastrophe, warned War Coordinator Thakmore. History proves this. Whose history? Asked Dr. James Mitchell, humanities' leading expert on galactic civilizations. The Council's records show that species which maintain independent development for extended periods achieve breakthrough technologies at rates far exceeding Council projections. The few civilizations that have resisted Council integration have consistently outperformed member species in innovation and adaptability. Those species either destroyed themselves or were eliminated as threats to galactic stability, Zalthax countered. According to Council records, yes, James agreed. But we've located several of these supposedly extinct civilizations. They're very much alive and thriving in other regions of the galaxy. They simply chose to avoid contact with the Council rather than risk stagnation. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled Council members. The basic assumption that guided expansion and species management was being challenged with evidence they couldn't dismiss. Council leader Zixthara's form cycled through colors rapidly, indicating intense internal debate. What exactly are you proposing, Commander Davis? A partnership, Nick replied simply. Not membership in your council, but cooperation between equals. We'll share our innovations with any Council species that wants to restart their own independent research and development programs. And in return, nothing. We're offering this freely because a galaxy full of innovative, creative species benefits everyone. Stagnation is the real threat to galactic stability. The proposal was so unprecedented that most Council members seemed unable to process it. They had spent thousands of years offering technological assistance in exchange for guidance and control. The concept of unconditional sharing violated every assumption about interspecies relations. You would give away your technological advantages for nothing? Asked Research Director Kilnoth. They're not advantages if everyone has them, Nick explained. They become the foundation for even greater discoveries. Human civilization advances fastest when we're competing and collaborating with other innovative species. Ambassador Helen Brooks, who had joined the delegation, stepped forward. The Council system creates artificial scarcity by hoarding knowledge and limiting innovation. Humanity's proposal is to create artificial abundance by sharing knowledge and encouraging innovation. The Council exists to prevent conflict between species, Fluxcar declared. Your proposal would create competition that could lead to war. Competition for resources leads to war, Nick corrected. Competition for knowledge leads to advancement. When everyone benefits from discovery, there's no incentive for conflict. Dr. Rodriguez activated a final display showing humanity's vision for the future, a galaxy where hundreds of species pursued independent technological development while sharing discoveries freely. The projected advancement rates were staggering. This is what we're offering, Nick said. Not subjugation disguised as protection, but genuine partnership between civilizations that choose growth over security. Council leader Zixthara was silent. For long minutes, its form cycling through the full spectrum of colors visible to the assembled species. Finally, it spoke. "You are asking us to abandon 10,000 years of proven stability for an uncertain future based on unproven theories." "No," Nick replied. "We're asking you to remember what it felt like to discover something new, to solve a problem no one had solved before, to push beyond the boundaries of what you thought was possible. We're asking you to remember what it felt like to grow." The chamber fell silent as council members contemplated a possibility they had never seriously considered, that their greatest achievement might also be their greatest limitation. "And if we refuse?" Zixthera asked quietly. Nick's expression grew serious. "Then you'll continue on your current path. You'll maintain stability and prevent disasters. You'll keep your member species safe and comfortable and dependent. And the silver ships came down from space like falling stars." Jake Morrison stood at the big window of Luna Station and watched them get closer. He was an admiral in the Earth Space Navy, and he had seen many ships before. But these were different. These ships were not made by human hands. "They sure know how to make a show," said Dr. Kate Williams. She was standing next to Jake, and her hands were shaking a little. Kate was the best scientist they had for studying alien life, but today was the first day any human would actually meet aliens. The biggest alien ship moved close to the space station. It was smooth and bright, like liquid metal shaped into a perfect oval. There were no sharp edges anywhere on it. Human ships looked rough and basic next to these beautiful alien vessels. Inside the station, the meeting room was ready. Earth had picked their best people for this moment. Jake was there as the military leader. Kate was there as the science expert. Commander Sarah Park was there to think about security. They all waited as the aliens came aboard their station. The alien that walked into the room was tall and made of what looked like living crystal. It moved with grace, and its body caught the light and threw it back in rainbow colors. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English. "Hello, humans of Earth," the alien said. Its voice was beautiful, like music. "I am Ambassador Veltar. We have been watching your people for some time. We have seen what you can do with space travel and building colonies on other worlds. You have done well for a young race." Jake felt his jaw get tight. The alien's words sounded nice, but there was something else underneath. The alien was talking to them like they were children who had done a good job with their toys. "We bring gifts," Veltar continued. The air in the room suddenly filled with glowing pictures. They showed machines and technology that looked like magic to human eyes. "We can give you power that will never run out. We can give you medicine that will let your people live for hundreds of years. We can give you tools to talk across space, faster than light itself." The pictures showed amazing things. There were machines that could make food from nothing. There were tools that could turn dead planets into gardens full of life. There were weapons that could protect against any enemy. That might come. Jake looked at the other humans in the room. Kate's eyes were wide as she stared at all the technology. Sarah was frowning and thinking hard about what this all meant. "We are the Galactic Council," Veltar explained. "We are a group of 237 different alien races. We have brought peace and good life to our part of the galaxy. We want to help you join us." The alien made more pictures appear. They showed huge cities floating in space. They showed ships that could cross the galaxy in days. They showed worlds where no one was sick, no one was hungry, and no one ever died of old age. "All of this can be yours," Veltar said. "You only need to do one simple thing. Accept our help in learning about technology. Follow the rules we have made for how to grow and expand among the stars. We have been doing this for thousands of years. We know the right way to do things." The room got very quiet. Everyone was thinking about what they had just seen. The technology was amazing. It could solve every problem that humans faced. No more wars over energy. No more people dying from diseases. No more limits on how far humanity could reach into space. But Jake was thinking about something else. He was thinking about the words, "follow our rules," and "accept our help." In his experience, when someone offered to do your thinking for you, they usually wanted something big in return. "This is very generous," Jake said slowly. "But we need time to think about it." The crystal alien seemed surprised. Its body shifted and the light patterns changed. "Think about it? But surely you can see how good this is for your people. No race has ever needed to think about joining the council before." "Maybe that's because no one ever asked them the right questions," Jake said back. Dr. Williams was still staring at the glowing pictures. "Admiral, did you see those medical tools? We could get rid of cancer. We could stop people from getting old." "I saw them," Jake said quietly. "I also heard the part about following their rules and letting them guide us. When has humanity ever been happy to let someone else make our choices?" Commander Park nodded. "Every time in history someone offered us a deal that seemed too good to be true, it usually was. I think we should learn more before we agree to anything." Veltar's crystal body flashed with different colors. "But the benefits are clear. Why would you want to struggle with basic technology when we can give you advanced tools right now?" "Because struggling is how we learn," Jake said. "It's how we grow. It's how we become better than we were before." The alien looked confused. "But learning takes so long, and you make so many mistakes. We can save you from all of that pain." "The pain is part of the point," Sarah said. "When we solve problems ourselves, we understand them. When someone else solves problems for us, we just become dependent on them." Veltar made the glowing pictures fade away. "You are being foolish. No race has ever turned down council membership. You would be the first." "Maybe it's time someone was first," Jake replied. The meeting went on for another hour. Veltar showed them more amazing technology. The alien talked about how safe and peaceful life was in the council, how no one ever worried about wars or disasters, how every problem had already been solved by someone smarter. But the more the alien talked, the more worried Jake became. It sounded like the council had created a galaxy where no one had to think for themselves anymore, where every race just used technology made by someone else, where no one tried new things because the old things worked just fine. When the meeting ended, Veltar seemed sure that the humans would change their minds. "You will see reason soon," the alien said. "Once you understand how much we are offering, you will accept. No intelligent race could do otherwise." After the aliens left, the three humans sat in the quiet meeting room. "Jake," Kate said, "that medical technology could save millions of lives." "I know," Jake replied. "But at what cost? Did you notice that the alien never talked about what happens to our doctors and scientists when they give us perfect medicine? What happens to our engineers when they give us perfect ships?" "They become unnecessary," Sarah said grimly. "Just like every other race that joined their council probably did." Jake stood up and looked out the window again. The alien ships were still there, waiting for humanity's answer. They looked beautiful and perfect. But Jake was thinking about human ships. They were rough and basic and broke down sometimes, but they were built by human hands and human minds. They were ours. 3 weeks later, humanity gave their answer. It was polite and respectful. It thanked the council for their generous offer. And it said no. The aliens could not believe it. In all their thousands of years, no race had ever said no to the Galactic Council. But humans had always been different. They had always chosen the hard path over the easy one. They had always preferred to make their own mistakes rather than live in someone else's perfect world. The council would learn this about humanity soon enough. But first, they would try much harder to change human minds. They would offer bigger gifts and make better promises. They did not understand yet that humans valued freedom more than safety and independence more than comfort. That lesson was still to come. The USS Liberty dropped out of hyperspace near a dying world. Jake Martinez stood on the bridge, watching the planet slowly rotate on the main screen. The surface was covered in massive mining operations that looked like infected wounds. Smoke and ash filled the atmosphere, blocking out most of the sunlight. "Life signs?" Jake asked. Dr. Helen Ross checked her medical scanners. "Millions of them, Captain. But the readings are weak. Malnutrition, disease, exhaustion. They're working these. People to death. Any Vextar ships in orbit?" Amy Brooks asked from her tactical station. Tony Adams studied his navigation display. 3 bioships holding position on the far side of the planet. They're not moving, probably in some kind of rest cycle. Jake considered their options. The smart play was to observe from a distance, gather data, and move on. But looking at the planet below, he couldn't forget the desperate transmissions Kate had intercepted. "Lisa, prepare a shuttle team," Jake ordered. "We're going down there." "Sir," Amy said carefully, "if those bioships detect us, then we'll deal with that when it happens," Jake replied. "Carl, can you mask our energy signature?" Chief Engineer Carl Wilson worked quickly at his station. "I can reroute power through the secondary systems and run the ship on minimal energy. We'll look like space debris to their sensors, but it won't last long." "How long?" Jake asked. "Maybe 6 hours before they notice something's wrong." Jake nodded. "That's enough time. Lisa, you're with me on the surface. Amy, you have the bridge. If those bioships wake up, get out of here immediately." "Captain, I'm not leaving you on that planet," Amy protested. "That's an order, Lieutenant," Jake said firmly. "The mission data we've gathered has to get back to Earth. If we don't make it back, you take the Liberty home." Amy's jaw tightened, but she nodded. "Understood, sir." 20 minutes later, Jake and Security Chief Lisa Parker sat in a shuttle racing toward the planet's surface. Through the viewport, they could see the massive strip mines that covered entire continents. Alien machinery the size of cities tore chunks from the ground, processing the rock for minerals that would feed the Vextar war machine. "Landing site is 2 kilometers from the largest slave compound," Lisa reported. "Sensor readings show about 50,000 people crammed into that area." The shuttle touched down in a rocky canyon that hid them from aerial detection. Jake and Lisa stepped out wearing environment suits to protect them from the poisoned air. The gravity was heavier than Earth's, making each step feel like walking through thick mud. They climbed to the canyon rim and looked down at the slave compound. Jake felt sick at what he saw. Thousands of beings from dozens of different species lived in conditions worse than any prison. They were thin to the point of starvation, their skin marked with scars from brutal working conditions. "Look at the guards," Lisa whispered. Jake focused his binoculars on the creatures patrolling the compound. They were Vextar, but smaller than the bioships. They walked on 2 legs, but their bodies were covered in the same living armor. Mechanical implants jutted from their skulls, and their eyes glowed with artificial intelligence. "They're cyborgs," Jake realized. "The Vextar turned their own people into machines." A group of slaves was being marched toward the mines. Jake watched an elderly alien stumble and fall from exhaustion. One of the Vextar guards walked over and prepared to strike, the fallen being with an energy weapon. Jake was moving before he realized it, sliding down the canyon wall toward the compound. Lisa cursed and followed him, knowing she couldn't stop her captain but refusing to let him go alone. They reached the compound's outer fence just as the guard raised its weapon. Jake's plasma pistol fired once, a precise shot that burned through the cyborg's head. The creature fell dead before it could hurt the old slave. Immediately, alarms began blaring throughout the compound. More guards rushed toward their position, but Jake and Lisa were ready for them. "Spread out," Jake ordered. "Use the terrain." The Vextar guards were strong and well-armed, but they fought like machines. They moved in predictable patterns and couldn't adapt quickly to changing tactics. Jake and Lisa used the compound's buildings for cover, striking from different angles and disappearing before the guards could respond. "They're not very smart," Lisa observed as she took down another guard with a well-placed shot. "That's because they're not really alive anymore," Jake replied. "The Vextar sacrifice intelligence for obedience." As they fought their way deeper into the compound, freed slaves began joining the battle. They had no weapons except rocks and mining tools, but they fought with desperate courage. A young alien that looked like a cross between a human and a lizard picked up a fallen guard's weapon and used it to free more prisoners. "You're human," the alien said in broken English when Jake approached. "We heard rumors. Some said humans were coming to fight the Vextar. We thought it was just hope talk." "What's your name?" Jake asked. "Kex of the Tarian people," the alien replied. "We've been slaves here for 20 years. Are there really human ships coming to free us?" Jake looked around at the thousands of beings who were staring at him with desperate hope in their eyes. He thought about the USS Liberty, alone in space with 3 bioships nearby. He thought about Earth, defenseless against the Vextar Empire. "We're here now," Jake said simply. "That's what matters." Kex translated Jake's words into several alien languages. The effect was immediate. Beings who had lived without hope for years suddenly stood straighter. They began organizing themselves, preparing to fight for their freedom. "Captain," Lisa said, touching her communicator, "Amy's trying to reach us. The bioships are starting to move." Jake opened his comm channel. "Martinez here. Captain, you need to get back here now." Amy's voice crackled through the static. "Those bioships detected the fighting. They're moving toward the planet." Jake looked at the thousands of slaves who were depending on him. If he left now, the Vextar would slaughter them all as punishment for rebelling. But if he stayed, his ship and crew would be destroyed. "Amy, take the Liberty and jump to safe distance," Jake ordered. "Monitor the situation and be ready to extract us if possible." "Sir, I can't leave you." "You can and you will," Jake said firmly. "That's a direct order." The communication ended in static. Jake turned to Kex and the other freed slaves. "Listen to me," Jake said loudly so everyone could hear. "There are 3 enemy warships coming. We can't fight them directly, but we can make this cost them more than they expected." "What do you mean?" Kex asked. Jake smiled grimly. "We're going to teach the Vextar something they've never learned before. Sometimes the prey fights back." Over the next 2 hours, Jake and Lisa helped the freed slaves turn the mining compound into a fortress. They used the heavy machinery as weapons, rigged explosive traps from mining equipment, and organized the aliens into fighting groups based on their natural abilities. The Vextar had made one crucial mistake. They had kept the slaves working in the mines for so long that the aliens knew every tunnel, every hidden passage, every weak point in the mountain. What looked like empty rock to the Vextar was actually a maze that the slaves could navigate, blindfolded. When the bioships arrived, they found the compound empty. The slaves had vanished into the tunnels like ghosts, but as the Vextar landed troops to search for them, the mountain itself seemed to come alive. Explosions erupted from hidden charges. Mining lasers, reprogrammed by clever alien engineers, fired from concealed positions. Groups of freed slaves appeared from tunnel entrances, attacked with captured weapons, then disappeared again before the Vextar could respond. "They don't know how to fight an enemy they can't see," Lisa observed as they watched the battle from a hidden observation post. "The Vextar are used to crushing organized resistance with overwhelming force," Jake agreed. "They've never faced guerrilla warfare before." But Jake knew this victory was temporary. The bioships could always bombard the planet from orbit, killing everyone on the surface. The only way to save these people was to give them something the galaxy had lost long ago: hope. Jake activated his communicator and set it to broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Captain Jake Martinez of the human ship USS Liberty. To all beings in Vextar space, listen carefully. The Vextar can be beaten. We've proven it here today. They're not invincible. They're not gods. They're just bullies who've never been hit back. The transmission would reach other slave worlds, other conquered systems. For the first time in 3,000 years, someone was telling the galaxy that the Vextar could lose. Jake looked at Kex and the other freed slaves around him. They were still outnumbered and outgunned, but something had changed in their eyes. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something more dangerous, anger. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you push humans too far. And more. Importantly, it was about to discover what humans could teach others about fighting back.